Okay, you guys, I just want to give you a quick rundown on the MTS other time frame or higher time frame indicator that overlays higher time frame Midas curves onto lower time frame charts. So the way that this works is you set your launch points wherever you would like them to be, um, and then you hit the control key and then the 0 key simultaneously. Control 0. Now what that is going to do, it's going to save your launch points. So it's going to know that you want your curve launch from this point. From this point, it's going to also record your upper and lower channel lines. And at this point, we don't have the additional channel lines integrated into this, so it's just going to be the upper and lower channel line for the time being. That will likely change going forward. So this is a different chart with different recorded information on it, but I went through the process that I just showed you. So I applied my Midas curves, the lower one down here. We launched one from this point. We launched one from this point. So again, this is sort of just another illustration of how to use the curves in a trending market. You can see, how each of these launches gave great information on potential support zones that, in this case, turn into nice additional trading opportunities. But so on the previous chart, went ahead and set the pivot points and the curve launches, calibrated the channel lines, then I hit Control 0. And then now this chart, the reason that you're seeing these in the Midas curves on this chart, you can see there's no vertical lines. What we do have is the Midas reader, or the MTS reader indicator on this separate chart. So it's actually looking at a data file, and it's going to go ahead and put these curves in here for us. We cannot adjust these curves on this chart. If we want to replace these curves on this chart, we have to go to the other chart and move the launch points on that other chart, hit Control 0, and then hit F5 to refresh this chart, and the new curves will show. We'll get into why you might want to do that sort of more actively at a later date, but the bottom line is you can actually put one of the Midas trend or the MTS trend curves on this chart as well, and have a more actively movable one, while these, which may be important curves, will stay and they will continue to populate, so they won't change. One of the things that can happen, particularly on a lower time frame chart, is you start getting caught up in the smaller trends, and when you finally get this pullback, or let's just say we have a rally up here and it pulls back into this, you may have gotten lost in a sort of a shorter time frame move and then adjusted your curve. So we'll get into that a little bit more later. So that's the idea of how to save the launch points and then to populate those curves on another chart that does not actually have the MTS trend on it. And now we're going to look at how to actually add these curves onto a lower time frame. So the reader will populate, if you saved the curve on a 30-minute chart, the reader will populate that same information on a 30-minute chart. The ReaderOT, or other time frame, will actually take these curves and place them on a lower time frame chart. Okay, so here we have an example. This is a 1-minute crude oil chart, and you can see with the 30-minute level that it was launched from occurred. Let's see if I can. Occurred from the previous night. In the overnight session, we launched it from this pivot low down in here, and then calibrated the upper and lower channel lines. And then so you can see this actually occurred in the overnight session. But you can see how we rallied up into so actually, to give you a little bit more of an idea here, the red lines are upper and lower channel lines from the primary curve, which is this gold color. That's the main Midas curve launch, and this is the lower and the upper channel line. This green line is the upper channel line of a lower launch, and let me show you that. You can see that this is the lower channel line and primary curve for that Midas curve that was launched. So we can drop in and look at other factors in between these levels. So we're looking for different triggers and different reasons to either get short or to look for continuation. For example, in this situation, we pushed up through the channel line pretty strongly, pulled into it, and if we had started to see evidence of this, holding, we might have wanted to enter, whether that was a break of this pivot high or even just a little bit of time where it starts to accumulate above this level. We might have wanted to take a shot at a long trade. Instead, it pushes right back through it, so we had an opportunity to potentially look for a short trade in here as it moves back down towards the primary curve. And a good first target, well, a good target in general, is to try to short the upper edge of these channel lines and then have a goal of reaching the primary curve, the lower curve, or even a break below it, depending on the overall trend, maybe on a higher time frame like daily, or even a 480 minute or something like that. And you can see here again, we had great indications of, if you had been paying attention, that we had touched the 30-minute level at this point. You had some nice shorting opportunities in here, and again, going right back into our, first and second sort of logical target areas would have been a nice trade setup. And then again, in here you can see how we're sort of going sideways, flirting with lower prices in here. Finally get a break below the channel line, we punch back up through it, and we're finding support right inside of that 30-minute window. And so if you drop down to a tick chart and you have, you're entering somewhere in this area, you want to let this thing run. Even if you're not actually holding all the way to attest to the higher level, which in this case wouldn't have worked out, you still can get much larger profit targets. Whereas if you're just looking at that tick chart, a 10 tick move might look really attractive, where a 15 or a 20 tick move is actually pretty probable from a 30-minute chart perspective. And so that's what we're trying to do there. Let's just take a look at the indicator settings real quick. So it's the MTS ReaderOT. That is actually the old naming scheme. So I think it's going to be the MTS OT is what you'll likely have. I'll keep you posted on that, of course. So we're going to look at the settings there. So under parameters, now you have ultimate flexibility here. What we are doing, so in this case, you will have logged the 30-minute levels that you wanted the launch points to come from on a 30-minute chart. So we walk through the process of how you determine your levels. You're gonna open a 30-minute chart. You're gonna put your MTS trend indicator on it. You're gonna set your pivots. You're gonna set your channel lines. You're gonna hit Control 0, and then that is creating a data file for a 30-minute time frame. So here, if I were to put 45 minutes, then I don't have a data file in place, and so nothing will appear. But since we have a 30-minute data file, I put in 30 under time frame length, and then here you can just select what type of parameter you want. So it can be day, week. In this case, we're using minutes, so selecting minutes. You can change the colors, the thickness of the lines, and things like that. But for now, this is gets the point across. You just hit apply, and your higher time frame will appear. If it doesn't appear, the first thing you want to do is look at in the current iteration of the indicator, you have to have, I mean, obviously this first 30-minute level starts here. So if I have only a half a day worth of data on my chart, so you go to data series and days to load. If I only have 1 day to load, well, it might get the first 30-minute curve, but then it won't get the second one because I don't have enough data loaded on this chart for it to go. It won't just start where your chart starts. So I mean, for instance, I have 1 day of data, and let's just say 1 day started right here. It won't just start this curve from that point forward. You have to have enough data to cover the starting point of that curve for it to actually appear. So if you're having display problems, that's going to be the first thing you'll want to check. You may need to increase the number of days back. We are working on another iteration that I think will allow us to avoid having to load so much data. We'll keep you posted on that development as well. So that pretty well covers the Midas higher time frame indicator. If I have missed anything or you have additional questions, just let me know. Great, thank you.